What is up, gang? It is I, Carlton Flowers, your crypto pro. And we are going to get a brief Bitcoin update before I head out on the holiday weekend for a much needed break. So we're going to dig right in and start out with this 4-hour chart. And as usual, this is not financial advice. All right. Let's see, what do we have here but a nice little rejection on the 4-hour chart as Bitcoin has bounced right off of the 50 EMA. We're still well below the 200 EMA on the 4-hour chart. And very interesting to see that we did not make it past this volume node on the VPVR. That is volume node visible range. And to go along with that rejection, we see a fake out and then an absolute crossover of the fast line and the slow line on the stochastic, where the blue line is now below the red, which indicates further downward action if it does not flip and go back up. In addition to that, we see that the histogram has 2 bars printed in light green, and we also see an impending crossover as the blue line has been really dancing above this orange line where it almost touched it here, it touched it there and went back up, and now it's about to touch again. But we could see movement going to the downward direction as we notice that the histogram bars, these peaks are getting smaller. We had the one red bar right there on the histogram, and then we had one more smaller section in the green, and then this impending crossover right here. So as I said several days ago, we might have some boring side banding happening for a nice little period of time, and it looks to me like that's exactly what has played out. Since about the 27th all the way up until where we are right now, nothing but boring side banding. And that means that we have this action where the stochastic does a complete cycle up, and then it goes back down, back up again, back down again, with not much happening on the price as we're staying within this range where we're bouncing off of the red dashed line and going back up to the top of the channel near the volume cluster on the VPVR. Let's clear this out and check out what the one-day chart looks like since our last update. So here we are. Let's scrunch it down a little bit, and we can clearly see this progression of bear flags, which really, I mean, this is a bear market. And I don't know how much longer that we'll continue to see the big mouths on YouTube continuously coming out with these breaking updates where they say, we've got an indicator that's never been wrong in history, and it's flashing a bullish signal. And then after they get you all riled up and thinking that there's going to be a breakout, we see a breakdown or continued sign banding. So how much longer are we going to be rattled and believe these big important indicators that flash bullish signals only to see that we are continuing in the bear market? Now on the one-day chart, we can see that we're clearly outside of the action of the big bear flag here. We had all this bouncing around. We broke down and we made a miniature small bear flag. And then we broke down out of that one. Now, what does it look like we are forming again, but another bear flag? Where is it? Well, here's a pole right here. And it looks like we could probably call this a pennant even. It's either a pennant or a bear flag. For right now, this is what it looks like, a bearish pennant. Now, the biggest piece of evidence here that lets me know that this is very weak action is a rising stochastic, where the blue line is clearly on top of the orange line. And the general progression is up. It's trying to make its way back to the 20 line. And that's the line of demarcation that would take us out of the oversold zone. But then notice upstairs what coincides with this stochastic increase. It's just side banding. In fact, we're moving down, price moving down while stochastic is moving up. We even have an indicator here where it looks like the blue line, which is right now, it's currently underneath the orange line. It's approaching the orange line and wanting to come up and cross over. And we see that we have light red bars on the histogram as the histogram is approaching the 0 line, which would say that we have a swing to the upside that could be happening. But I don't know if this is going to hold or if this is going to continue to go downward. So for right now, since we are in a bear market, since we have clear downward momentum, I would have to interpret this action right here as another bear flag that is forming. So once we get out of this little box of trading range and we jump back down to the red dashed line, it looks like the chances of going down and plunging below the red line for the moment are greater than holding and rebounding back up to this big volume cluster at the point of control price. So keep that in mind. Also, we got to keep in mind that we have not seen a release of the Mt. Gox Bitcoin settlement yet. So we have this downward action. We're stuck in this miniature bear flag number 2 after we have broken out of miniature bear flag number 1. And we haven't even seen the effect of Bitcoin being pushed out to market to be sold by those who have waited since the Mt. Gox fiasco, since the hack. Now, some say that there's not enough Bitcoin in that settlement that would really influence price. They claim it's a very small amount. I say don't be too quick to write it off, because all it takes is one little lemming to jump over the cliff for everyone else to follow, for a panic to ensue that causes a lot more selling. So this one-day chart is just kind of confirming that we are still in a bear market, and it doesn't scream breakout. All right, let's jump to the one-day chart, and then we'll look and see what the DXY and the Dow are doing. And they're not looking so good. Well, the Dow is not looking good, and DXY is not moving in a way that would support a Bitcoin breakout. Okay, let's flip to the 1 week. There we go. Scrunch it down, and the 1 week kind of shows us a nice little green candle forming right here at the base of the red dash line. But what is it coupled with? Looks to me like the stochastic and the MACD oscillators are not too impressed by that little green candle sitting on the red dash line. We still have an absolute crossover right here where the blue line is diverging or increasing the gap between itself and the orange line. So this is clear overall downward momentum. We also see that the oscillators on the MACD have not broken this trend line. Okay, we needed to see this trend line break to get away from this pattern of lower highs. Here's a high, there's a lower high, there's a lower high, and this looks like it's forming out to be a lower high. Notice how the green candles on the histogram are getting smaller and smaller. Here's a nice big cluster here, a little bit less of a cluster here, just a dash of a cluster here, and these itty bitty slivers of green bars on the histogram where we currently sit. So this is not an indication that we are ready to discontinue the current momentum or stop the bear market. Now, I will also add that history tells us that September is not a great month for Bitcoin breaking out. And until we get some groundbreaking, catastrophic news that comes out, which I don't foresee anything like that happening, I don't see any reason, any logical reason why we would break out of this current bearish trend. I mean, let's just look at it. You had this huge double peak here at the top. And since then, we've been in a bear market. You've got lower high after lower high after lower high. Let's make that red. Here's a lower high. There's a lower high. We had a temporary higher high right here, but it did not take out the previous here. And then we have another lower high before the next drop. We have another high before the current drop. Overall, what are we looking at? Bearish momentum. There's nothing on this chart to tell us that Bitcoin is going to reverse and move back up to a higher volume node cluster. Right now, we're sitting at this current one, holding on for dear life, and we have all of this huge volume down below, and momentum is carrying us in that direction. So with the current state of the economy, the world economy, And with all of the events that are happening, including the Mt. Gox settlement, which is due to be released sometime in the middle of this month, I don't see any indication that this September will be any different than the majority of Septembers that we have had since the inception of Bitcoin. So I expect this to continue. This is a bear market. That's it. There's just no other way to slice it right now. Anything outside of that is wishful thinking, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Now, let's flip this up and let's jump up to the Dow on the 1 day, which is clearly in a downtrend. And it looks like what we had just previously discussed as a possible crossover right here. It's unfurled. Notice how the blue line has now curled over, and it looks like it's ready to cross over the orange line. Notice how we have a severely bearish looking set of oscillators on the MACD, and we are now printing a dark red bar on the histogram after we had this light red. And what I was talking about on the last video was that we could work our way back to the zero line because we had this light red bar, but now it's dark red. So it says momentum has returned south. So the Dow is going down. And if you're following all of the news reports and the reports on the economy in the US and worldwide, there's no indication out there stating that this is going to be reversed. And we heard what Jerome Powell said at the Jackson Hole meeting. He said that he is ready to continue to raise interest rates and crack down on inflation to get it under control. He went on to say that it is not going to be easy and it is going to cause pain for individuals, for business owners, for everyone. So I look for this to continue headed south. Now let's just flip this to the 1 day chart or 1 week chart. And then we can clearly see here that it's no different. We have this big, nasty crossover right there on the stochastic. And it looks like we're about to have a big, nasty crossover on the oscillators on the MACD. We are printing light green bars on the histogram approaching this zero line. And we're probably going to take a turn south as this overall general direction is headed bearish, going south. Okay, so we bounced off of this upper trend line here, and now we have gone through the 50 EMA and we're headed towards the 200 EMA down here where it could be possible support. And if we don't hold that 200, it's bye-bye Dow. We're going to have a very nice correction on the Dow. Now let's flip over to the DXY and start out with the 1 day chart. As we're sitting up here in a situation where we have a nice little bitty red candle right here at the top, we're still far above the 50 EMA and the 200 EMA. And as I told you before, don't trust this crossover because we could stay stuck in the overbought zone just like we did back here. Sure enough, we're flattening out and it doesn't look like the stochastic is ready to reverse. And it does not look like the oscillators on this MACD are ready to head down for bearish action. So we see a flip-flop where we were printing dark green, we went to light green, and now we have a little dark green and then a light green. So this is indecision as far as reversing direction, which means it's going to stay with a bearish trend. Let's see what this great DXY looks like on the 1 week, and then we're going to be done. So on the 1 week here, holy smokes, this is absolutely bearish for the DXY. Now, first of all, we are still clearly in a position of strength with an all-time high happening right now as we're at 109.61 here at the peak, printing these green candles with reckless abandon with a huge bullish stochastic crossover where we are continuing for a very long extended period of time where the stochastic is not even wanting to drop below the 50 line, much less spend too much significant amount of time below the 80 line into the neutral territory. We're bouncing right back up here into the overbought zone. Now, people don't buy DXY, but that's just letting you know that we're in a very positive area of strength and it's not wanting to dip back down. So DXY is still moving up And as long as we are increasing interest rates in order to combat inflation, I don't look for this to change, or at least not in the month of September. This is a very strong 1 week chart. So that rounds it off. That's about all we have here. There's not much more to say about this. We can keep this nice, short, and simple. So I would love to hear your opinion on what you think the month of September is going to look like. Are we going to have another capitulation? Will we have some FUD that comes out that goes into the market, pushing it downwards? Will we have a black swan event? I don't know, but we do have things like the Mt. Gox release of the Bitcoins that were collected during the settlement that is going to head out to market very soon, possibly around September the 15th, coupled with a continuous increase of interest rates. So post your comments. Let me know your thoughts below. And I would love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe to the Crypto Pro channel. And this weekend, I will be posting some preview premium content with no editing that gives you the information that I will be doling out to the members only group. We'll have another week or two where I will give you these premium updates. Please comment on the premium updates and let me know if they are valuable. I got to get some feedback from you before we get it launched as I tweak the process. That's all I got for now. This is Carlton, and I am out.